Hello listener, and welcome to a very special episode of the Lonely Goalpost Podcast. My name's Simon Higgins, and today I'm all on my own, where I share my special memories of Mexico '86. 40 years ago was the time when I first fell in love with football, and I haven't looked back. So grab a brew, settle down and enjoy my little short whistle-stop tour about Mexico '86 and how the Lonely Goalpost started. Hi there listener, how are we doing? This is a special episode of the Lonely Goalpost. I'm Simon Higgins. How are we doing? It's World Cup quarterfinals, and it got me thinking about my first World Cup, and it was back in the day, 40 years ago, Mexico '86. I can't believe it. I wrote a blog on this, and it's really good to reflect. So basically, 40 years ago was my journey playing football. And I always remember being in the school playground at Adastra School in Camford, just running around with one of those airflow footballs, or airflow tennis balls, the little plastic tennis balls with holes in that you'd use for like uni hockey and playing all sorts of multi-sports. And in those days, we used to play football in the playground with those. And I was just starting getting into football. And just before the World Cup started, my granddad got me the Panini 1986 sticker album. And it was the most magical thing in my life. I'm gutted that I have not got it. I never completed it, but I don't think that matters. I think that's part of the charm with sticker books, is that you've always got like one team that you've always got one player just short of. And I was fascinated by the England team in that. And I can always remember the photos. Brian Robson was my hero growing up, and I always remember Brian Robson born in Chester Lee Street, and it had their caps, it had the amount of games they play, where they're born, their age, and just the pictures were fantastic. Gary Bailey was in there. I always remember Gary Bailey, I'm pretty sure, was in a yellow goalkeeper top, the old Manchester United goalkeeper, and obviously Shilton would be wearing the grey kit, but I think it might have been the yellow kits for the goalkeepers. But anyway, the sticker book was the thing that just fascinated me, and we went off. I remember we went off to a barbecue that night around my mum and dad's friends, and I just took the sticker book with me, and I took the stickers, and dad's friends were chatting to me about football, and to be honest with you, those days I was very raw. I didn't really know much about it. Some would say I don't know much about football now, and it was just something that mesmerised me, sticking the stickers in, the silvers, we all love the shinies, the badges, the team photos. And I remember in the sticker book it had all the posters that were stickers of previous World Cups, and that's where I started learning all the stats, finding out where the World Cups were held, Uruguay winning it in the early days, Italy obviously, and then in each team you had their route to the World Cups and all the results. And that just captured my imagination, and then my football journey just catapulted from there. But going back into '86, I remember the matches were on late, much like the recent game when England played Mexico. And after England beat Poland 3-0, there was the talk, I always remember on the radio, there was the talk of that player that got the hat-trick. Obviously we know that's Gary Lineker. And I was so caught up in that. And I remember being in the playground with my mate, Daniel Notley, shout out to you mate, going, I want to be that one who scored the 3 goals, the hat-trick. And I said, what's his name? And I never remembered his name, and he was telling me it's Lineker. And then all the other players were playing on the top pitch, and we were on the playground. I don't know, in those days, was it a hierarchy? Was it the good players and the bad players? I always dreamed about being on the top pitch. But then that's just where the football journey started. And I actually watched the Paraguay game. I remember watching that in our lounge and sitting up, watching it, little TV, and the players just seemed like dots. And again, Lineker scored 2, and I think Peter Beardsley got 1 in that game. And then it was the big game against Argentina, where we know it, Maradona worked his magic, and I sort of knew Argentina were good. I didn't think they were that good, but equally I knew they had this player that was quite special. And my dad managed to sneak me into the pub, and we watched it on this small TV, as you can imagine, in 1986, in the corner of the pub. And it was the first time I got caught up with the football atmosphere, with people cheering, supporting. Everyone was lovely to me. I did have Coca-Cola, by the way. and it was just magical stuff. I knew the first goal went in. We know that's the hand of God. He's jumped up. He's outdone Peter Shilton. I knew something wasn't right. I didn't know what, and everyone was screaming and shouting at the TV. But with that goal, looking back, now a lot of people give Shilton a lot of stick, and I'm going to, as a goalkeeper, part of the goalkeeper union, I'm going to defend Shilts because actually, if you think about it, the deflection, I think the deflection's come off Hoddle and it's gone in the air. You know who you're dealing with, and the ball's come up and you're coming forward and he's coming up, and you're not expecting the hand just to come up and tip the ball over your head. So he's come out for the punch, and he would have got that punch, I'd say 99 times out of 100. And then obviously Maradona's just tipped it over him. But I was thinking, if he would have just held his ground, that wouldn't have been a good move anyway, because you know, and he would have known that Maradona would have been able to control the ball and then do his magic and score. So he made the right move to come out. Maybe could have clattered him, but equally he's stretching. Maradona's jumping up, and as we know, the rest is history. The second goal, oh my, I couldn't believe that. Watching that on that little TV, and again you just see these dots moving, and it's a bit like the old Kickoff 2 computer game. And then he's just, it's the goal, it's the greatest goal ever, isn't it, really? And it's iconic just because we had beauty in the beast being the handball and the beauty being the mesmerising run. Could the players have fouled him? Yes, I think in that era you could have got away with a foul. Peter Reid got sent off, Kevin Moran got sent off for fouling Peter Reid in the 1985 FA Cup final for a professional foul, but he's through on goal. I think early days there you could have stopped him. We didn't, and he scored a great goal. And again, Shilton's come out, but it's that little drop of the shot. It's just that little change of angle and the pace and the speed and how the low centre of gravity. It's a great goal. It's a heartbreaking goal, and it's a great goal on both equal measures. And then Lineker manages to get his 6th goal of the World Cup, which would win him the Golden Boot. John Barnes came on, and again, I remember seeing this player coming on, dancing around, crossing it in. Lineker heads it in, game on. And in the pub, it was funny because they kept showing the instant replay, and everyone's going, yeah, 2-2, 3-2, and I genuinely remember that, and that, I just thought that was brilliant because I actually did understand they were replays, but there's a little part of me going, was it really 3-2? And then I do remember the second John Barnes run and the cross and Lineker going up and ending up in the goal, and for me, I really thought that was a foul. I still to this day sort of think it's a foul. We can see it now that there is the good bit of defending, getting their body in front, but we know with the Argentinians, the dark arts, using their body, maybe a little nudge. Lineker's never really come and said he's got fouled. I've never really heard him say that, but I've got your back there, Gary. And then obviously the World Cup, Argentina go off and they beat West Germany 3-2. I did watch the game. Again, I didn't really know too much that was going on. I was the imagination had been captured, and I just remember the goals going in. I know Maradona didn't score. And another game I remember in that tournament was actually the France v Brazil game, because again that was on, if I remember rightly, I think that was on ITV, and I think it got moved to Channel 4 for some stage of the game. I'm pretty certain that happened. I may have been dreaming that, but I'm pretty sure it got moved channels to complete the game. And then obviously my football journey started there. It's 40 years. I can't believe it's been 40 years. And that's why I've started this podcast, really. And I started this as a blog over in lockdown back in 2000, where I actually interviewed people who were lonely, people that needed a bit of cheering up, people that wanted to share their football story. And this is an idea I've had for about 7 or 8 years, where you talk to the real football fan and they share their football journey, because everyone and anyone has a story about football, whether they love it or whether they hate it. And this is where you, listener, I would love to hear your football story. If you would like to get involved, if you would like to share your journey with me, please drop me a direct message. through the socials on the Lonely Goalpost, because I will reply to the DMs, and they've got to be nice DMs, but I will reply to them, and I will book in a call, and obviously if we live nearby we can create a video and have a good conversation and talk about your football story, and it can be absolutely anything. You could play in Division 15 on a Sunday morning, or you might be semi-professional. You might be a former professional. I'm equally intrigued by everyone. I want to know everyone's story, and I want to capture that on this podcast. And we look forward to sharing our journeys, having a bit of fun, having some conversation, and sharing our love of the beautiful game. So get in touch. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for indulging us. It's all about the real fan. And until next time, listener, I've been Simon Higgins, and this has been the Lonely Goalpost. Thanks for listening to the Lonely Goalpost. I really appreciate you spending your time with me as we share football memories and stories from the beautiful game. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to follow and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and all major podcast platforms by searching The Lonely Goalpost. And if you'd like to explore more, head over to thelonelygoalpost.co.uk for articles, memories, and updates. Until next time, listener, keep the football memories alive, and I'll see you on the next episode.